Hello, agentpreneurs, and welcome to episode 116 of the Daily List Report. 116 episodes, can you believe it? I can't, though I remember all of them. While you're here, make sure you consider subscribing to the channel. Click the little bell so you are notified so you don't miss any of these great conversations that I'm fortunate enough to have with top agents and industry people, across the country. And today, in fact, still in North America, but in a different country. We've got our first guest from Canada. He's in Calgary, and his name is Mike Sherrard. Mike Sherrard is the founder of High Converting Content. He is an agent at eXp Realty. He has an interesting nickname. He is known as the Purple Realtor. So I actually don't even know what that means yet, but we're going to find out all about it. So I'm excited about that. He's actually a former engineer turned agent. And we're going to talk a little bit about that transition in his career and frankly, maybe how that background helps him in his business. While I got you here, we're going to pull up a couple things on screen right now. First one is Mike's YouTube channel. So he's Mike Sherrard on YouTube, link below. Definitely check it out. He's got a great following, some great content here. We're going to talk a little bit about, I think, not only how he built this channel, but how he uses content for lead generation. I think that's going to be really interesting. And then, of course, he's active on Instagram, so Mike_Sherrard, link again below. Definitely follow him here. He's won some awards. We'll talk a little bit about that, but you get a real sense, if you look at this channel, you're going to see some similarities to some other top people that we've seen, which is it's a combination of his business, but also his life and who he is. So you really get a sort of a private view into, who Mike is. And this is such an interesting way to drive, demand and lead generation, and we'll get Mike's perspective on that as well. So without further ado, what we're gonna do right now is bring Mike on. Mike, welcome to the show and say hello to the agentpreneurs of ListReports.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Thanks for having me on. Super excited to have this conversation. And again, I think it's going to be a powerful one and truly honored to be the first from your northern neighbors up here in Canada.
Absolutely. We love our northern neighbors. So definitely welcome to the show. It's a great distinction. Hopefully this works out well. All right. So Mike, here's what I like to do. I love it. I love starting off by giving our guests a chance to introduce themselves. I want everyone to get to know who Mike Sherrard is. So why don't you take a moment, talk a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into some conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I'll try and make it quick and dirty because I know some like to go on some sort of novel about themselves. But, the Coles notes of it was I ended up taking 2 degrees in 3 years back in New Brunswick in Canada, came out to Calgary and got into engineering. And I was doing quite well as an engineer, was recognized in my first year as top employee of 60,000 in the Fortune 500 oil and gas company. They sat me down and said, Mike, where do you want to go in the company? We want to fast track you there. And I said, oil and gas sales, because I love to work with people and get compensated based on your effort. And they said, no problem, Mike, it's going to take a minimum of 5 to 7 years to get there. And I put my 2 weeks notice in the next day and off I went. So I was always passionate about the investing side of real estate, never the agent side. But I realized that I loved and I wanted to learn more about marketing, branding, and sales. So I realized that the agent side of real estate was a low barrier to entry, quick to get in, and it gave me the opportunity to learn that. So got into real estate back in early 2017. And within my first 10 months, I was recognized as top 30 realtor in the world on social media. I've been a top producer every single year in the slowest market in North America, which has been a really interesting journey. Only about 27% of homes actually sell here. Wow. And now fast forward to 3 years, I'm now a group leader at eXp, and I've got a marketing and branding agency that helps agents scale their business on autopilot using creative and innovative content strategies.
Mike, that's awesome. I think what's really interesting though about your approach is that you're based in Canada, right, in Calgary, and I have to ask you. You said only 27% of homes sell. What does that mean? Like that's such a foreign concept to me.
Yeah, so there's a lot of hot markets in Canada, and the majority of Canada is doing quite well. Vancouver, Toronto, the Atlantic coast are very, very strong right now. The problem is that Calgary is tied solely to oil and gas. So back in 2015, when oil and gas went down, out of about 600,000 employees in the city, 100,000 jobs were lost. So ever since then, the economy has been declining at about 6% per year every single year since 2015. So on average, if 100 homes get listed in Calgary, about 27 of those homes are actually going to sell, and we have between anywhere about 12 to 14 months of inventory. So it's a grind up here, but again, if you put the right work in and get creative, you can still do very well in this industry.
Yeah, very interesting. Just side note, Mike, I'm curious about this. So I think you didn't mention intentionally this is a problem. We'll cut it out. But you work for Floor Daniel, is that right? I saw it in your intro. Yeah, so Floor actually, I think, used to be headquartered in Irvine, right down the street from where I am. Yeah, so they're local here. But that's not my point. My point is actually that, you came from oil and gas as an engineer, and you're in a market heavily dominated by oil and gas workers. So is that a connection that you make? Is that part of who you are, that you understand their business and what they're going through?
Yeah, great question. So honestly, I never really saw it that way until about 4 or 5 months in, when I listed a $15 million property, the most expensive in the city's history, as a 4-month new agent. And the sellers are big oil and gas tycoons. And they said, Mike, why don't you have your degrees in your e-signature? It just says realtor. It doesn't say, degree in mechanical engineering. And I never thought about that. So I put it in there because they made it as a mandate in order to list their $15 million house. And ever since then, I get replies from online leads when I use Facebook lead gen all the time saying, Mike, saw that your email came from an engineer. I'm also an engineer. I find most realtors aren't relatable. I've got a lot of respect for engineers. And it is that kind of unique connection that we can make that they otherwise feel like they can't make with other agents. So it definitely has helped. And it shows that I do have additional secondary education that really gives me that kind of additional credibility that they're looking for when selling their house.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think this is, again, I make this point all the time, Mike, but I'll make it again right now, is, find those pieces of your interest, your history, your education, or whatever, and don't be shy about putting those out to the forefront, because those are opportunities for you to make connections with people. It's just such an important thing, and I think that some people forget about that. They think about, okay, I'm moving on, I'm going to have a new career and I'm going to do this thing, and I can't tell you, right, how many agents I've spoken to, Mike, who, one of them recently was a former school teacher, and his first deal came from that school, and he's gotten 20, 30 deals just from the teachers, the parents, whatever, right? That just becomes part. So that network that you built, that sphere of influence, is something that you can carry with you into this business.
Big time, yeah. I ended up working with a lot of people from Floor that unfortunately, got laid off, and I ended up, I built such a good relationship with them while I was an engineer that they trusted me, and they knew my work ethic as an engineer. So they figured, what would my work ethic be if I left engineering? So a lot of my deals in my first year actually came from that, outside of door knocking and leveraging social media.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so I don't want to bury the lead here, right? So you're known as the Purple Realtor, and when we got online here, I looked in the back and I was like, you've got Kobe and you've got Nipsey. You must be LA based, and obviously you're not. So let's talk a little bit about this. Why are you known as the Purple Realtor? And more importantly, why, how do you use that? Why is that part of the brand that you've built?
Yeah, great question. So back when I got started in real estate, I was 24. I was new to this city. I had no experience, but I also had no money. And I didn't have a lot of money to my name. So I realized, I don't have the opportunity to go the traditional route of doing bus benches and billboards and mailers and all this kind of stuff. But my passion is cars. So I knew that if I found a way to leverage my car for branding and marketing, it might be a good syndication. So what I did is I decided that I was going to wrap my car in a color that stood out in a tasteful way in order to allow that to be a part and a component of my marketing. So when looking at color psychology, you realize that purple represents luxury, royalty, and ambition. And that's kind of the feeling that I wanted to exude to my clients of the experience that I was going to provide them regardless of price point. So what I did is I ended up wrapping my car in purple, and my Instagram handle was still Mike Sherrard. But I started realizing after about a month or two is people locally, local business owners that I've never met were commenting on my Instagram post saying, Mike, every time I see the color purple, I think of you. And as soon as I started reading a couple comments like that, I realized I had to seize that as an organic opportunity because I didn't want to be this guy that just came into the industry, wrapped his car purple and be like, I'm the purple realtor. So it kind of, it naturally came into place where other people started calling me that. So then when I changed my Instagram handle to the Purple Realtor back in 2018, 2017, early 2019, it just took off and people started recognizing it. Podcast hosts wanted me on, and it really stuck in a way because they knew that I wasn't just self-proclaimed the Purple Realtor. It was actually driven by my audience that was really taking a liking to the unique approach I took.
That's interesting. All right, so I have to do this. I found it on your Instagram. I just pulled it up. I'm showing a picture of your purple Beamer here, so everybody can get a visual as to what you're talking about, right? That's really, really interesting, actually. Okay, so you're like, nobody knows who I am. I need a way to stand out. And Mike, I'll tell you, so it works. I'll give you another anecdote. So there's a guy in my neighborhood, okay? He works my neighborhood like no one's business, right? And there's probably 3 or 4 communities there. And he drives, it's not as nice as this. He drives a little Mini Cooper, okay? But it's wrapped, and it's wrapped with like his website, which is like the zipcode.info or whatever it is. And he drives his car all around and he door knocks. I want to talk about content with you in a second. He wrote a book. And it was like all of these anecdotes from his career, and he would come up and he'll sign it and he'll give you his book. And man, I know this guy, right? This guy is all over the place, and I always see him and I recognize his car. Even if he doesn't knock on my door, if I see his car in the neighborhood, I'm like, there he is again, right? This is such a powerful thing.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. I literally cannot, I live downtown in Calgary, and I cannot leave my condo, drive to the grocery store, drive anywhere without getting home and seeing my Instagram DMs filled with at least about 3 to 5 on average videos of people I've never met in my life saying, hey, Mike, I see you driving around downtown right now. Everybody recognizes the car. Everybody knows who it is. Which is really exciting because it's leveraging my passion. I can tap into the car community. I started in the first 6 months, I did a lot of door knocking, so people would see the car. I had purple laces on all my dress shoes, so I would actually door knock. People would see my laces, ask if I drove that car, said they follow me on Instagram, and would be much more inclined to have an open conversation with me at the door than if I just showed up and they never recognized me, and now we're starting from a cold draw.
See, that's such an important point. I'm glad you made it, Mike, right? I've had countless conversations with people who have, solid, let's say, Instagram presences. And, it's exactly what you said, which is people will go there. They're going to Google you. They'll go there, and maybe they didn't already follow you, right? They have a meeting with you, but they go there and they start going through your Instagram, let's say. And to some degree, and I'm exaggerating the point probably, they feel like they know you. And so when you show up, many times, tell me if you have different experience, they already know they want to work with you, right? They're like you said, it's not maybe it's a qualitative difference, but it's a significant difference. If you're walking into that door, you've got a listing presentation, they don't know who you are. And man, I've seen your life, I've seen your family or your girlfriend or your car or your whatever, and it's like, it's sort of aspirational. It's like, okay, this guy is active, like he knows what he's doing, I'm gonna hire Mike.
Yeah, it's incredible. I have people that I'll meet for the first time at the gym, and they're bringing up stories that I posted like 6-12 months ago that I forgot. They're like, Mike, I saw that you did this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot that I did that. But it's great because now I haven't had to use a listing presentation for well over a year and a half, because now people have already made up their mind that they want to work with me. So now it's much more of a consultation instead of a pitch. I no longer have to pitch myself like I did as a new agent about why I'm so great and all these extra things I'm going to do for you. Now they know what I'm going to do for them. And it's much more of an open and honest conversation where they almost feel like we're friends. It's just like if you have some service-based agency, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to leave your friend's business because you've got an emotional connection there. The same goes for real estate. It's going to be a lot harder for them to try and choose another agent because they would feel like they're letting me down. So we've got that initial connection, and now it's just about, let's have a chat about price. Let's get it on the market. You already know my process. Let's get started.
Yeah, it's man, what a difference, right? When you walk in and you've already gotten the business. You're the second agent that I've interviewed in a week to tell me that they don't use a listing presentation anymore because the client has already decided, and you just get to talk about, like you said, how we're going to price this, like let's get going, let's move, which is awesome. So, your business is anchored by 4 core values, right? Trust, loyalty, passion, and authenticity. So let's talk a little bit about, how and why you wanted to establish core values for your business and sort of what they mean to you and how you apply them in your work.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think, even my coaching group with Andy Frizzell and Ed Milet and the RTA Syndicate, they preach core values, because if you don't have any core values running the foundation of your business, what do you stand for? And if you don't know what you stand for, nobody else is going to know what you stand for. So I started looking at what I personally found was lacking in other agents. I found that trust often wasn't there, because the stigma of realtors was that they're shady, they're doing these sneaky things behind the scenes, and I didn't want to be that guy. And nobody obviously intends to be that guy, but sometimes it happens. So I wanted to make it an internal core value that I was going to be that guy that people can put trust in with their investments as well as just general life. And then from the loyalty perspective, again, I'm a very loyal person, and I'm always upfront, honest. Even if it's going to hurt somebody, I'm always going to be upfront, because I maintain that loyalty. Transparency and authenticity is again, I find a lot of people are in real estate specifically are always trying to be the next version of the current top producer in their market. They're always like, I want to be the next Ryan Serhant. I want to be the next Josh Altman. Why not be the best and first version of yourself? So I always wanted to have this authentic brand, because you're never going to be Ryan Serhant. You're never going to be Josh Altman. But in retrospective, nobody's ever going to be you. So if you become the best version of yourself in a really unique, creative way, number one, you're not going to have to hide in the shadows. It's so hard to put out content thinking, okay, this person did that. If I do that too, it's going to work out. But you're not doing what you actually enjoy to do. So for me, I don't do the same content as every other agent. I do what works in my niche and what I'm passionate about doing. So it's not difficult with my posts on Instagram. I'm not trying to mimic somebody else's content. I'm doing my thing. And that makes it so much more enjoyable, because I wake up every day and I just have to share my life. I don't have to share a different alternative of somebody's life because they did that and it must work. So I always wanted to maintain this authentic brand that I think a lot of people lose sight of, because they're always trying to climb that transactional volume of being like this other person at a different level. But they forget that the way that they got there was by being the best version of themselves.
100% agree. That's a great soundbite. Everything that you just said there, I believe in, Mike, wholeheartedly. I think people lose sight of that really, really quickly. And, just being able to be yourself. And part of that is tied to confidence, right? So having the confidence to just put yourself out there and accept the fact, I feel like I say this every show, that not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay, right? But
my God.
There's this, you know what I mean? It sounds like you know what I mean.
Don't it, can you guys imagine a brand new agent that's young in 2017? No, but there wasn't a single agent in my city leveraging social media. So I come out guns blazing. I wrap a BMW bright, vibrant purple. I start wearing purple dress shirts and dress laces. I start actively using social media and putting videos out on YouTube, which was never heard here.
Yeah.
The craziest thing is the only time I've ever received flack for my content, my branding, or anything I've ever done is from local agents. I've only received 100% positive praise from agents that reach all 4 corners of the world. But on a local level, I got a lot of flack from people like, your car's so stupid, those videos are so stupid, you're wasting your time. And, I don't like to be braggadocious, but to be completely honest, now I'm making more per month than almost every top producer in my city is making from my free content on YouTube than their production. So it goes to show you that fast forward 3 years, by committing to a process that I enjoyed, I turned all of that into motivation, and have impacted thousands of agents from my social media training, and have done exactly what I enjoy to do every single day.
There's something thank you for making that point. That makes perfect sense to me. There's something that is so pure and beautiful about being able to wake up and just be yourself, right? And you love cars, so you made that part of your brand. That's awesome. And you said something before, which I want to touch on again, which is something I harp on, frankly, Mike, which is someone else's playbook isn't your playbook. It's okay to listen and learn what other people's playbooks are, but if you don't like door knocking, you don't have to door knock. That's the reality. You don't have to door knock. I interviewed this great agent, top agent in Michigan. Her name is Gogo, and she's got a great social media presence. And she doesn't believe in buying leads from Zillow and the source. She just doesn't believe in it, right? She doesn't door knock. She doesn't do any of that. All of her business comes from social media. 100% of her business comes from social media. That's her playbook. And I just finished interviewing Brian Casella right now before this, who's an awesome guy, and he and his team door knock, and they find great success in it. So, the point is you got to listen to other people's playbooks, and you have to try them for yourselves, and you have to come up with your own playbook and your own brand. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah. It makes 100% sense. I'm actually friends with Brian. I met up with him when I was down in LA because I door knocked in the beginning and then transferred to social media. For me, what I started realizing is I think my opinion is Mike say, a lot of people reach out to me and say, Mike, you only put out social media related content on YouTube. Should I door knock? Should I cold call? Do you regret door knocking? And the biggest thing I say is I personally think door knocking was one of the biggest catalysts to my success because it enhances your communication skills, your objection handling, your ability to think on your feet. I think every agent in the world should prospect in some traditional method for at least 3 months as an agent in order to earn your stripes, get rejected, get put in your place. And it helps you in so many different other ways of life that you wouldn't expect. But I also think at some point you should graduate from traditional prospecting because I see a lot of agents that are in the business for 20 years and they say, well, circle prospecting is the way that you're going to scale your business. Mm-hmm. Well, no, it's not, because if you're on vacation, you're not getting any deals. If you're spending time with the family, your business is not growing. So I think it's really important for people to look at the gradual steps of how to scale a real estate business, but also be mindful of where your information comes from, because the unfortunate reality of it, and I'm not going to ever name names, but there's a lot of people that have a strong social media presence at face value, say they get all their business from social media, but if you look at their analytics, they've got 40,000 followers on Instagram and they get 6 comments and 100 likes. So I really urge people to be mindful of, even if you see these people out there, look at what information is being presented and if they've actually done what they said, or if they're building this off vanity perception in hope of getting you to believe in it as well.
I couldn't agree more, right? Even for us, this YouTube channel that you're on right now, right? This is a labor of love, as I've described it many, many times. But, I'm much more interested in engagement than I am in vanity metrics, right? So there's all sorts of ways you can game and you can buy subscribers or incentivize subscribers, right? But the only metric I look at is view time. Are the people who are watching it, whether it's, 100 or 1,000 or whatever, are they watching? Are they finding real value in this content? That's the only thing that matters to me. So I think staying focused on the right things is what you're saying, and I think that's a really important lesson. Mike, let's switch gears for a second, right? So I'm going to pull up a couple things on screen. We've got here the ultimate 6-figure social media guide for real estate agent, right? And you put in your name, you put in your email address, and you get that free guide. You've also got this free social media masterclass. This is something that is, straight out of a playbook that works really well, right? Which is this idea of content creation in exchange for a name and an email address for lead generation. So can you talk a little bit about, how and when you started building this aspect of your business with the content creation and how it serves you and what you do?
Yeah, fantastic question. So, again, just looking at the evolution of what I wanted to do, I got into real estate for the same reason as everybody, lifestyle and wealth. But what I realized, again, is there gets to a point where you can't create a lifestyle if you're solely dependent on one stream of income, which is commission. And it's also not scalable because it's not passive and it's not reoccurring. So ultimately, I started realizing that if I put myself out there on social media and build my brand, I'm going to get to the point where I can scale outside of myself. So in 2019, this is actually a really interesting aspect of my business. In my first year of real estate in this tough market, I did 16 deals. In my second year as a solo agent, I did 42 deals. In my third year, I went back and I did 31 deals. So what happened in my third year is this was January 2019. I committed at 167 subscribers on YouTube to put out a minimum of 3 videos a week for 52 weeks in order to commit to building my brand on YouTube. So I did that. It took me until November to get 1,000 subscribers, and now I'm growing at 2,300 a month. So what happened was I committed to the process that I knew that other entrepreneurs in different industries have proven. And if I follow suit, I don't know when it's going to work out. I don't know to what magnitude it's going to work out, but at some point it will work out. And by pouring into people and not going for the ask early on, I put out 3 or free videos for an entire year, 3 videos a week without any call to actions, no call to actions, no lead magnets, no free trainings, no nothing, just pouring into people like the jab, jab, jab of Gary Vee. And in 2020, I went for the right hook and said, hey, I've created a few things that have helped hundreds of agents scale their business to 6 figures using social media. If you want it, here's where you can get it. And because I've built up such an authentic, deep connection with my audience by pouring into them for so long, they trusted me. And my content has spoken for itself in the course content that now they're really happy that they've done so because the transactions are following suit. So it just got to the point where I realized I wanted to scale in a modern way, that I wasn't anxious when I was on vacation that I was losing listings or missing out on buyers or not writing deals, that I got to the point where I could sustain a lifestyle through the content I've put out on the internet.
I think that's great. You know, you said something there very important, and anybody who's successful that I know does this, which is value first. You said you didn't go for the ask too early, right? Your first video wasn't, hey, I'm Mike, you know, you looking to buy or sell, like get in touch with me, right? It was value first, content, 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 content. And then at the right time, you made the ask, and you made it in a way that was also in the context of value. So for those of you out there who are thinking about putting together a channel or being more active on social media, you have to do value first. I cannot stress this enough. It is value first. Nobody wants to hear a sales pitch. You need to find something about your background or your area or whatever. I interviewed a great agent a couple days ago, Mike, and you know, she's a military specialist, and you know, she found her niche in helping people who had to relocate, you know, because of the military, where you know, people are buying homes sight unseen. They don't know the neighborhood. You know, they got their orders and they're moving to some place they've never been before, and so that's her niche. She talks about neighborhoods, and she's in Savannah, Georgia right now. And you know, you find your niche, but it was always value, value, value first. Don't go for the ask until it's the right time. So I love that about that. So okay, so you're still creating tons and tons of content. How do you know what to create? Like, where does your content, where do the ideas come from? How do you know what this content's going to be?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of strategies that I use for content. Number one is always the echo effect. So what are people asking you, right? And this is, you know, even though a lot of my content now is social media driven for entrepreneurs and realtors, let's look at the general realtor's perspective. You're always looking for content ideas and you think you have none at your disposal, but people are always asking you, you know, Mike, how do I get started when I want to buy a house? What are the first steps to sell a house? Do I need to stage a house? How do I list a house? How do you write an offer? What are the next steps? What are conditions? How do you go through the process? There's so many questions that you get asked. And for me, I started realizing that if you leverage the echo effect, where instead of you answering that same question over and over and over with every client, create one video answering that question, send it to every client that asked that question. And now they're saying, wow, great answer, by the way, but also they're building a deeper level of trust and credibility with you because now they see that you're a content creator and you're on the internet. And for some reason, the general public has this, you know, perception that content creators are these like outer worldly people. But it's as simple as just answering the questions you get on a frequent basis from your clients and your friends and family. But also, there's some strategic things you can do. So keywords everywhere, vidIQ, the 2 tools that I use all the time. Keywords everywhere, download it for $10. You can get 100,000 credits, which will last you probably 2 to 3 years. And ultimately, You type in, Chicago real estate, and Keywords Everywhere is going to show you, ranked in order of search volume, the top terms related to Chicago real estate. So if some of the top terms are how to buy your first house in Chicago or condos for sale in downtown Chicago, make a YouTube video with that as a title. Yeah. And now you're ranking not only on YouTube, but Google. So there's a couple ways where I leverage my own internal knowledge. There's some ways where I leverage the echo effect. And the other is primarily based on data-driven analytics that are proven to be in demand by my target audience.
Really smart. Those are really great tips. Actually, I think most successful people on YouTube in particular definitely go for the keyword strategy. For those of you out there right now, you can try this. Just go to YouTube, go into the search box and type in something, and those suggested searches are indicative of search volume. And then, Mike, as you said, was keywords anywhere? What was it called again?
Everywhere, yeah.
Keywords everywhere. So apparently for $10, you can get 100,000 credits and you can get this information. Mike, one last question on your YouTube channel. Some YouTubers I've talked to are directing their YouTube channel to consumers, right? To prospective buyers or sellers. You've directed your YouTube channel to agents. So I want to talk a little bit about why that's the case, and maybe that's simply tied to your coaching business, so it makes sense for you. But talk about that decision. Did you ever consider creating a channel for consumers?
Yeah, that's a great question. Initially I did. And initially I've actually unlisted some of my earlier videos because it didn't really align with my now brand. But initially for the first 6 months, it was all consumer driven content. And I'm actually going to be putting out a list of 12 specific consumer driven videos over the next 2 months on my channel. Not solely because I want to get business in my local market, as that's not as much my focus anymore, but I want to lead by example. And again, it grinds my gears when all these entrepreneurs and realtors are saying, go do this and it's going to work out, but they're not doing it themselves. Mm-hmm. So I'm creating these videos as an example that others can follow suit because it's proven to work with all my clients. I just also want to have one of those videos as well. But the reason why is, again, I didn't want to be a traditional agent until I was 50 years old. I got into it to learn marketing, branding, and sales. I learned marketing and branding and sales, and now I can apply it to more scalable ways that gets me excited to wake up every day. And now that I'm with EXP, I have the opportunity to work with agents around the world where I give every single agent that joins our team all of my social media courses for free. And now that I'm not focusing so much on the transactional volume that when I was doing 42 deals as a solo agent, I was swamped, I can allocate my time to better servicing the people on my team to help them follow what I've proven myself. So that's kind of why I started focusing more. Is I realized that when I tried everything, and similar to what you said in the beginning, is try door knocking, try cold calling, try Facebook ads, try Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, try it all, see what you actually enjoy doing, and then go all in on that. I started realizing that the feedback from my first video about Facebook ads for real estate was far superior to the feedback that I got on consumer driven in local real estate. So just from an entrepreneur's perspective, I said, just like the Purple Realtor, I have something here. I've got something that people want more of. So I started putting out more of it, and the continued, feedback was quite positive. So it was more driven from what the audience wanted from me. And now it's also in perfect alignment with what I truly enjoy to do.
Love it. Well said, Mike. That's awesome. If you can believe it, we're like 35 minutes into this conversation. I feel like we just got started. I say that every time, but man, it's amazing, isn't it? I feel like we could talk for a couple hours here easily. Yeah, Mike, as we wrap up here, let me ask you just one final question, just sort of parting words, right? You've got a lot of agents out there listening right now, and they're saying, okay, guy, great, I'll go get myself a pink car. I don't know, where do they get started? When you're doing your coaching, when you're talking to agents, where should they get started? What's the first thing that someone needs to do? How do they get moving in the right direction?
Definitely. So biggest thing I say is if you're getting into real estate, or if you've been a seasoned veteran, but you just feel like you plateaued, take a Word document and start writing out how you want to be perceived. What do you want your brand to be like? How do you want to be recognized as the best version of you? And then start to build around that. So for me, a kind of general template that I love to use, at least a $10 per day Facebook ad running a custom list of homes under the average price point in your market. Run it all day, every day. $10 a day is all you need. I've actually got a testimonial pulled up here because I want to show you some of the testimonials from new agents on our team, what they're getting by doing this strategy. 141 leads at 89 cents per lead in 6 days, 6 appointments booked, and 2 offers written in 6 days from a $10 a day custom list of homes ad by a brand new agent in his market. So that's how you start on Facebook. On Instagram, just make a commitment to posting at least twice a week. What I always recommend doing is have an active presence. Don't feel the need to post every day and have this drive to post just for the sake of posting. Post when you can provide value. But what you need to realize is every agent has value. People, the only reason why shows like Selling Sunset and $1 Million Listing exist is because the general public is genuinely interested in real estate. So if you become the $1 Million Listing agent of your market, not related to the price point, but by documenting the journey, that's going to be your key to success in attracting clients on Instagram. Twice a week is all you need. 3 to 5 times is ideal. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just commit to whatever you can do for 6 months straight without missing a committed week. Now on YouTube, I recommend doing at least 1 video a week on consumer-driven content. Again, I've got something up here where a guy on my team said, I'm a new agent who moved to a city where I didn't know anybody, and because of the videos that Mike helped me create, I'm getting calls every day from people looking to relocate here. Can't tell you how grateful I am. Brand new agent, new to the market, no experience, highlighting his city, getting daily calls as a new agent. You don't have to overcomplicate it. You don't have to go balls to the wall posting 100 times a day. You just have to stay committed, consistent, and follow proven processes that actually work.
Love it. That's awesome. That's great, Mike. That's a great way to wrap up this show. I appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge. That's another thing for all of you out there that is consistent with top producers, people who are very successful, is they spend a fair amount of time giving back, right? And so even you doing this show, Mike, is you giving back. And I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I think there's some really great information. I hope I get a chance to talk with you again in the future, Mike. I feel like there's a lot of ground that we could cover on other topics.
Definitely, man. It's been an absolute honor. And again, I've spent so much time just on free calls with people that call me from all walks of life, all corners of the world. And that's one of the rewarding jobs of putting out content, is that you do get an opportunity to inspire people. So it's truly heartwarming, and it's a testament to what you're doing, but it truly allows you to feel like you're making an impact, and that keeps me pushing every single day. So, man, it's been a blessing to be on here with you, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks so much, Mike. Honestly, I appreciate those kind words, and thanks again for doing this, and we'll talk to you again real soon, okay?
You bet.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
All right, so there you have it. So again, definitely check out Mike's stuff, right? We got YouTube up here right now, link below. Click it, subscribe, look at that content. All of this stuff that he's talking about is put into practice every day. Here's Instagram, Mike_Sherrard. Go ahead and definitely follow him on Instagram and get a sense for his approach, his playbook, so you can craft your own. And then we'll also put links in here to the free social media masterclass, which I have up here, as well as the social media guide for real estate. A, you're going to learn a lot from those pieces of content, and B, you're definitely going to understand how content creation can inform your own strategy for lead generation and as you build your brand. And again, as you build your brand, find something authentic. Mike was able to take something that he was passionate about, in this case cars, and he was bold enough and confident enough to put himself out there and get himself a purple wrap car and purple shoelaces and purple t-shirts and shirts or whatever he went out there. And some people, gave him a lot of flack for that, but he stayed true to who he was, and people know him for that now. And if you're not known for something, you're not known for anything, right? So you can't just be a jack of all trades, master of none. You can't be all things to all people. You have to figure out who you are. And then you get to wake up every single day, and you get to do what you love, and you get to put your life out front and center. And that's a really great place to be. So until tomorrow, be safe, be healthy, be happy, be yourself, and we'll see you soon. Bye.